Cup of Joe with Grandpa Des. Hey, Jason, how you doing?
Good. How are you, Paul?
I'm good. It's nice to be on video with you. I think we've done a few podcasts together, but never a video, unless I'm forgetting one.
A few Zooms for fight game
Oh,
stuff, but
yeah,
never like an actual podcast with you.
yeah, and hopefully it won't be the last time. I know you've got two. I should actually put that on there. Maybe I'll edit it while we're talking. But you've got the Jason and the Gentleman MMA podcast that you do with Jason Hill, and then you've
Josh
got
Hill.
or Josh Hill. I'm sorry, you're Jason. He's Josh.
I'm Jason. Yeah.
But you've also the other one that you're doing where you just seem to have recently started where you're doing like MMA previews. Is that a separate channel, or is that in addition to the Josh and the Gentleman?
So they're separate channels. I have the Jason and the Gentleman stuff is just on its own YouTube channel, and then the one where I'm putting like my interviews up and doing previews is my own other YouTube channel. So so they're separate channels.
Okay,
you're correct, Paul.
Yeah, all right, and that's so because I see you get a lot of interesting fighters that you talk to, which there's not a lot of guys doing stuff like that, and I like to see it. So you get a lot of, especially Canadian guys, that are up and coming. I'm actually trying to get one for Fight Game Media. You've probably talked to him before, Jason Arnett.
Jesse Arnett. Yes.
Jesse Arnett. I'm so bad with names, dude. It's early in the morning, and I'm like 3 sips into my extra large coffee. So,
I've spoke to Jesse before. I spoke to Jesse last January before he fought in UAE Warriors. And then he had like a busy year last year, and he actually just fought last weekend in UAE Warriors. And I love he did win. He won a very decisive unanimous decision. And the thing I love about Jesse is the hustle. Like he already had he had that fight, and he has a fight already announced for May 6th at Unified in Calgary. And now he's trying to book himself a title fight, which it seems like they're going to give him either at 145 pounds in UAE Warriors. So I love Jesse's hustle, and I know his manager and his management team they love him, and they get him stuff pretty quickly and things like that. So I love Jesse's hustle,
and he's such a great personality. Like he's I wish he was 10 years younger. If he was 10 years younger with the mouth that he has, he could be a big star in UFC, I think.
He's such an OG of the Canadian MMA scene too. So that's a big thing about it. And I mean, he's, he wrestled in college. He's fought for like all around Canada and the States, and now getting some good opportunities. Like he was one of those guys also that was a Canadian that had to go to the States. He fought for a Brazilian promotion in the States, Toro MMA. Like back in 2020 when the pandemic was really underway. So he's such a great guy. Like I talked to Josh because Josh Hill fought him back in TKO.
It's
like
that's probably Jesse's biggest fight, I would think.
It's one of them. I think the Ray Borg fight last year was pretty big too. That was Ray Borg's first fight post UFC, and they gave Jesse the opponent. And Jesse, Jesse's so durable, right? Like he didn't win the fight, but it's very rare.
That was a close fight. I was really close to scoring it for Jesse. I did give it to Borg, but if I remember right, one of the rounds was super close. And if you gave it to Jesse, you could have.
And that's kind of like Borg's style too, where he's going to get in these close scraps, and somehow he'll always get the edge or find a way to edge with the judges. But Jesse's a durable guy, and I love it. I'm excited to see him back in Canada actually May 6th for Unified, because Unified's having a sensational year with them getting on Fight Pass.
So so they're on Fight Pass now, because they used to be on the Fight Network, and their shows were hard to watch. I mean, I did watch. They used
to be on Fight as well. They were one of the few Canadian MMA promotions on Fight, the streaming service. And I guess the one thing with being on Fight Pass, they do up your production value a lot. I will say that's a big.
That's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. So since they're but their fight quality has always been really good. Like they're a promotion pumping out some of the best guys in all of Canada.
And they've got like the announcers are good. They've got that big guy with the red hair that does the with the beard that does the ring announce. I think he does the announcing and the ring announcing, and he's got like that loud booming voice.
They got
I
John Ramdine since they've been on Fight Pass to be their
Oh,
play-by-play guy.
okay,
So
okay.
that's been I guess, step up for them because they did
Oh, for
have their ring
sure, for
announcer
sure.
also do play-by-play,
Yeah,
and I know
yeah,
that's a little tough, especially if there's going
yeah.
to be dead air and things like that. So they got Ramdine and Mitch Clark's the color guy, and they kind of gel
Oh,
well. I mean,
Mitch
and
Clark is great. I remember
Mitch
him
Clark's an
from
excellent, yeah.
yeah, he used to do One, right?
It's Mitch Chilson who you're thinking of, but Mitch
Is it?
Clark's the
Okay.
former. Mitch Clark's
See,
the
this is
former a Canadian MMA fighter.
this is why I need to talk to guys like you and Ryan, and I get corrected, and I don't mind it because I just spout stuff off, and I'm perfectly fine getting corrected. I'm used to it by now. So you don't just do MMA. So I actually I don't want to get away from the MMA just yet, because the other thing that really interests me about you is this BTC fighting that I
Yeah,
saw like during the pandemic. You got to go out and do a show in BC, which that must have been surreal.
it was fun, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, getting to do something during the pandemic was cool. Not only did we go to Vancouver, we went to Edmonton as well, like 2 months later.
Oh,
So,
okay. Oh, I didn't know that
um,
one. Okay.
yeah, so we BCC 10, which was supposed to be in Burlington, which got postponed to go to Vancouver. That was cool. Never been to Vancouver, but I always wanted to go, so that was a positive of it. But it was like, calling fights without fans is bizarre. It was
Yeah.
so weird. I know I can see why the fighters would like it because you can literally hear your corner. Like, they don't have to scream or shout. You can hear them super close. But like, when you're doing the play, like, they can hear you doing the play-by-play. So that's
Oh, wow.
weird. That was weird. Like, I know for a fact they could, because I could see them waiting to bring the fighters in for like the instructions after I did like the sponsor reads. So that was a little odd, but like, the fights were cool, and working with the production team that was out there in BC was excellent. But yeah, I've been with BTC since June 2019. Was the first shows I did for them as the play-by-play guy, and going on strong. Now we're finally back in Burlington this June for the first time since June 2019.
So that's a little closer to home, obviously.
Yes,
You can
yes.
do you drive there?
Every show in Ontario I'll drive to, but like,
Okay.
we got to fly out there. It was cool. Like, we got to. I know that BFL, that was their week. They had their first show on Fight Pass, so we had some guys from Ontario out there, and our promoters were kind of talking with the BFL team out there, and they got to go and see everyone and things like that. So that was cool, and it's also learning to grow as a promotion per se. Like,
Yeah.
I think if you look at the BTC stuff, compared it to any promotion in Canada, our production values are like 10 times better than a lot of those promotions. It's just, they've had a little bit more longevity to be able to get on Fight Pass. Like, BFL is going to be putting on 72nd show in April, and Unified's going to be putting on their 44th show. We're only at show 15 come June. So, and like, there's still room to grow, but I think we knock it out of the park. Production values, I think our fighters are just as talented. Our matchmaking is just as excellent. And I think, especially in the province of Ontario, which is the most populous province in the country of Canada, like, a lot of talent is finally getting an opportunity to shine. It was a little bumpy roads in Ontario, but we have such a good relation with the commission and things of that nature that I think you're going to see a lot of great talent that's also fighting in BFL or Unified. They got their, like, from Ontario, they got their start with us in BTC. Like, the BFL bantamweight champion, Series CD, I've been calling his fight since he was an amateur. So, like,
Wow.
I've got to see a lot of these guys grow and get some opportunities. So that's also the exciting factor for me.
And I'm looking at a list of the people that have fought there. You got Jasmine Jazza Devicious that just got a
Yep.
contract on Dana White Contender Series. Kyle Nelson, Kyle Propelic, Jesse Ronson, who's a pretty big name. Cheyenne, well, it says Cheyenne Bays, but she doesn't go by that anymore. And Lupita Godinez, who kind of became a bit of a star this year in UFC by fighting like every other week for a little while there. Loopy.
Yeah.
So that's and I assume you called a lot of those fights.
pretty much all those girls and guys I called. I
Wow.
remember the Ronson fight was here in Kitchener, BTC 9, like literally the week before the pandemic, Paul. That was a
Mm.
big fight that we promoted. It was Ronson getting a fight against Troy Lamson, who at that point in time, Troy Lamson, like he lost to a guy who I can't remember right now that ended up getting signed to the UFC. But Dana, like on the looking for a fight, like gave him advice. So it was
Oh,
like,
wow.
oh, this is the next step up for him. If he beats, an ex UFC guy like Jesse Ronson, he's getting to the UFC. And then Jesse, just really showcased his veteran presence and was able to get a first round finish. Jasmine fought a girl and Christina Ricker at the time. She's changed her last name since getting married, but got it done in like 52 seconds in her hometown. That was in Niagara Falls. Cheyenne Bays at that point in time. That was the first show I ever called, and she
Oh,
was
wow.
supposed to fight Rayanne Amanda, who's now actually Rayanne, who was the BTC original 150-pound champion. She's fighting on the Contender Series this year, so
Oh,
it's
cool.
like all these talented girls and guys have come through, and they're a lot of them got their start with us at BTC.
So we, Ryan and I, on our In the Clinch podcast, your name comes up a lot, just because I don't know anybody that watches as much MMA as you do. If there's a show and it's streaming somewhere, chances are you're watching it. And for me, like I always just thought, oh man, that guy's just such a great big fan of MMA and he watches all this stuff. But you're also obviously doing it for research because you may have to call these fights at some point and you want to learn the styles and everything. But I'm sure it's at the heart you're an MMA fan because you're a broadcaster and you don't necessarily have to be broadcasting MMA. I'm assuming you do it because you love the sport. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
exactly. Plus, like I kind of interview the guys on the regional scene, like a little
yeah.
bit more than the UFC or Bellator. It's not that I'm not opposed to interviewing those fighters. I have interviewed UFC and Bellator fighters, but I like following. I like the growth of a fighter
Mhm.
from the regional scene to, seeing them shine. That was one of the things when I was in high school. Like I loved independent wrestling. I still do, but like I really
Yeah.
got into Ring of Honor or like a CZW or like just see these guys that are talented, but give them 5 years, you're going to see them on, Mondays, Thursdays, Fridays, and you saw them grow and maybe get to, be showcase their skills a little bit more in wrestling. But in MMA, it's like you can see, where they're going to be, how they start out, seeing them face adversity for the first time or whatever. But I like seeing it like that. Plus, I just love, as you said, Paul, I love MMA. It's just a
Yeah.
great sport. And there's so many options right now. Like I
I
remember
know.
like when Go Fight Live was a thing, and like there was a couple promotions on that. Like I remember watching Ring of Combat, and because that was where one of the promotions John Jones came out of. But like Go Fight Live was so sketchy. Like you
Yeah.
couldn't
Yeah.
trust the streams. They'd always drop out. But I mean, shout out to Go Fight Live. They're one of the few people that actually willingly gave me a refund without just
Oh,
saying,
wow.
"Hey,
Okay.
your stream died. Can I have my money back?" And they did. But like now there's so many options, so many places. Like Fight Pass has pretty much every promotion under the sun, and the ones that aren't there, they're easily accessible to watch. So I like seeing, the regional shows, the European shows, because the European scene's so fun as well. And then of course your major three promotions in North America: UFC, Bellator, and PFL.
Yeah, and and even Combate,
Yeah,
it's really kind of up there. I know like this week there's no UFC, so we did our show last night, and I looked at the schedule, and it's like there's like 3 or 4 shows on that are readily available that anybody could watch, and they all have like former UFC people on them. We got 2 Cage Warrior shows. We have an ex MMA show, which I think is on YouTube, and I think it's CFFC has a show this week.
it's CES. Yeah,
Or CES, yeah, I always get those
yeah,
2 mixed up. And
yeah.
there's like 3 former Bellator fighters on that show. So it's like, and almost every day you could find an MMA show. And it used to be back in the day, like I would seek these shows out, and now it's like I'm trying to find time to watch them, and most of the time I'm failing. I remember paying. You mentioned GFL Live, and GFL. I
Yep.
remember paying for. I think CFFC used to run on there back in the day, like when Paul Felder fought for them.
Yep.
Yeah, and I also got there was a promotion out of Detroit or Windsor, MCW. I think. Is that I
There's
think that
there's
Kevin
WX. There
Lee
was
might have started there. Or
there's W.
WXC.
It's WXC. They used to be on
Yeah.
Fight Pass.
Oh, but were
I
they
don't. They
on
may have been
something
on
else
Go Fight
before?
Live. They may
Yeah,
have been on Go
or
Fight
some
Live.
other streaming service. It might have
Yeah.
just been that you could buy it straight from them.
Yeah.
Because I do remember watching a couple shows on there and a few guys. So that was all. It was no former UFC guys on there, but it was like guys that would end up in UFC. So I remember, especially so the ones that are really cool to watch are like the beginning fights. Like if you can stick around and like tune in at like 6 o'clock and watch, the guys with the 1-0 and the 2-0 records. Like sometimes you see some really fun fights on those shows, and every once in a while, one of those guys, becomes a star, and you could say I saw them win.
That's pretty much what the whole regional scene been like since during the
Yeah,
pandemic, right? And UFC's big push recently for let's bring in more contender series. Like every episode of the contender series, they're signing every fighter basically, so they can
yeah,
obviously save on money, but they're investing in younger talent that they have. And it's like I've seen that person fight in Cage Wars, I've seen that person fight in LFA, or if you haven't seen this person on a promotion on Fight Pass, it's like I've called that person's fight. So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
fun. That's fun for me, or what, wherever. But there's so much regional talent right now going on, and it's just crazy how to see it continues to evolve too. Like LFA to me is bar none like the best promotion
Yes,
going for a regional show. It
mhm.
really gives me like early ROH vibes from pro wrestling to MMA, just like the talent, the fight quality that comes out of there.
The
Uh, I
production is
just, I
great.
just, yeah,
Yeah.
production. I just caught up on this show that I missed pretty much all the fights except the main event from Friday, and just like that show's awesome. There's a 1 round fight that's a round of the year candidate for me.
Oh wow, I have to check that out. So that was this past weekend on Fight Pass.
This was this past Friday, yeah.
Okay, yeah, maybe I'll check that out then, and I'll see if I have the same conclusion as you did as to which fight you're talking about. Although from what you're saying, it sounds like it'll be obvious.
Yeah.
Okay, so the other thing that interests me, and as you can tell by looking behind me, I'm also a hockey fan, and you get to do Kitchener Rangers broadcasts, which is super cool. Now, how long have you been doing that?
So my first season was 2019-2020, and we didn't even get to
Oh,
finish it
geez.
because the pandemic
Yeah, yeah.
came and ruined it, and that was unfortunate because that Rangers team was really good, had an like excellent veteran core and an overage goalie who was, continuing to do big things in LA King prospect and Jacob Ingham. But yeah, that was my first season, but. And then this year was kind of shaky around Christmas time with how COVID was. Like, are they going to
Yeah.
cancel the season again? But there's no way the OHL or the CHL as a whole can cancel the season. But yeah, it's for me, it's crazy that to do broadcasting for a team where when I was in public school, I like volunteered in the choir because one of the things the schools in all like around the area do is they all sing "Oh Canada" and then they get to come to the game for free. So I
Oh, okay.
volunteered just to do that. And
Yeah.
once that was over, I wanted to quit. My parents made me, so I had to sing in the Christmas choir. But so getting to go do commentary for a team that's one super close to me, two like a traditional legendary junior hockey
Yeah.
team, and three a team that usually has a lot of success. It's been a rough season for the Rangers this year, but they're really battling right now for one of those last playoff spots right now. So it's exciting. Plus, as well, as we're talking about with MMA, seeing people grow. Hockey, that's as well where you see like, hey, that's a future first round pick. Hey, that's a
Yeah.
future excellent player in the NHL.
And you talk about them being a legendary franchise, and obviously I've been a hockey fan, pretty much my whole life, and guys like Bill Barber, Larry Robinson, Al McInnes, Paul Coffey, Hall of Famers played their junior hockey in Kitchener. Obviously, they're all before your time,
Yeah,
but what are you like 32?
I will be 32 in April.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Pretty good, eh?
Yeah,
So so this dates me. I did the same thing as you. I went in the school choir so that I could go to Victoria Cougars games when I lived in Victoria for 3 years in the I guess what would have been like 80 to 83. So they had just a killer team at that point. And we knew like most of these guys are going to the NHL. We had like Grant Fuhr, Barry
oh wow.
Peterson, the Courtnall brothers, Russ and Jeff. Those are the big ones. I think there's a few more. And I mean, these guys were like just a few years older than me. So I, kind of like they would just talk to me, like they were like my older brother kind of thing, because we were hanging around. We got to do skates and stuff. So that's a fun thing about a junior team. Now here in Winnipeg, because we have an NHL team and we have a CFL team, like we've never supported junior hockey very well. So when like I lived in Victoria for 3 years, and before and after that I lived in Winnipeg, we had the Winnipeg Warriors forever, and you couldn't give those tickets away. Like they would show up at our school and they'd have like stacks of tickets and giving them to kids, and the kids wouldn't go. Now we have the Winnipeg Ice, and they do a little bit better, I think, because they have a small arena. So I think it's like 1,500 people. So you got the scarcity of demand. Like if you want to go to a game, sometimes you can't. So that kind of makes you want to go more. But I think in Kitchener, because it's the only game in town, that's like your team, right? Like for Kitchener, that's your identity almost, right?
Well, plus as well in Kitchener, there's people that are season tickets holders that those tickets were handed down through generation. Like those people
Yeah.
have had those seats or been a season ticket holder for their entire lives. So it's the thing that I think if you think of Kitchener, there's two things you think of. Think of Oktoberfest, because Kitchener Waterloo has the biggest Oktoberfest outside of Germany. And then it's the Kitchener Rangers because of how long they've been around, how successful they've been as a franchise, and the NHL level talent that's come on out through the Kitchener Rangers program. So yeah, it's really all we have. Like we have university sports, but that's only certain select sports. Like university hockey's always struggled in the country, not just a Kitchener problem, because there's so many hockey options. Football is one thing, but it's like that's it basically. Like there's some other sports, like the KW Titans are a basketball team, but they don't draw anywhere near as close, or they play it, I think, an arena too big for them right now, but there aren't a lot of options in Kitchener. But yeah, it's the Rangers. Like that's the identity. When you think of Kitchener, like, a lot of people will think of Kitchener Rangers.
Yeah. So in terms of geography, are you, because you mentioned football, are you closer to Toronto or Hamilton?
Hamilton. I am a Ticat fan.
Okay. So
Hamilton,
yeah, that's where you're going.
Yeah, Hamilton's like 30 to 45 minutes away. Toronto should be about 45 minutes away, but you're always caught in traffic.
Right.
And things like that. But I've been a Ticat fan pretty much all my life.
So you must be north of Hamilton then.
My geography isn't the greatest, but we are a little north of Hamilton.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, because I've only been like, well, I guess technically I've been there twice, but we drove through there a few years, 2014, because my wife her brother lived in Toronto at the time. He's in BC now, but we were going to New York from Winnipeg, so we went through Toronto, and we also went through Hamilton because my kids, who are, it's easier to say adopted, more like foster kids, their birth dad lived in Hamilton. So we on this trip, we dropped them off and they stayed with him for a couple days. So I remember going back and forth from Toronto to Hamilton, and it's just like, it kind of like all these little places that I'd heard about, and then you would see the signs and it's like, oh, Kitchener, Sudbury, all these different, we went through Sudbury as well. And so it's like, but in my mind, like I assumed these were all like super far away, but it's almost like one big city that is kind of almost connected. Like obviously you being there, Kitchener is very different from Toronto, but for me, like it all kind of just looks the same, I'm yeah, I kind of figured that Kitchener, like, and especially like that iconic logo as well, because it's the same logo as the Rangers, but it's more like the old school version.
Yeah, it's pretty much that. They had a alternative version that I remember, which was more like a cartoon Ranger.
Oh yeah,
I have a shirt that they were selling that I can try to find, but it's like a cartoon version of like a Texar mascot. So that they had that for a while. And they at least mess around and make some unique jerseys. But the big thing for the Rangers is like they do a Remembrance Day game, like the week of Remembrance Day. There's an amazing ceremony every game, and they usually come out with a special jersey. And then this year, our special jersey had a tank on it, and I guess it was like Kitchener was helping supply tank parts for the Canadian military for World War II, and I didn't know that at all. So as well, you learn a little bit about it. But yeah. Everything kind of around Southern Ontario is pretty within driving distance and close to each other.
So with you doing the broadcasting now, how many games are you doing? Are you doing them all, or do you just do select ones?
We just do the home games for TV. We're
Okay.
not radio where they normally do pretty much every game and travel to every rink. But we just do the home games. Except we have like 3 games that we don't broadcast for certain reasons. But pretty much every home game I will be there at the odd, chatting up about
Wow.
what's going on with the Rangers.
Well, I was wondering about that because it says on your bio, and that's why on here I just put broadcaster because you said TV, but then you had posted something in the group about was it
Yeah,
Almost Paradise was playing on the station before you started. So I thought, oh, is he on radio? But
so
was it the video that was playing or
So I filled in
oh on the
last
radio? Okay,
Friday on radio for the first time,
okay,
and it was we were in Guelph, and the home station for Guelph, I think it's an easy listening station, and so I
okay.
heard like Almost Paris. So like, man, what a transition if you're listening to that to all of a sudden all this easy listening to OHL hockey, like a huge
Well,
weird
it's
transition.
CanCon. It's
Oh,
CanCon with
I
Mike
loved it.
Reno. Yeah.
I was loving the music. It's that odd. I wasn't expecting that.
See, you got to start listen. David Lavelle should pay me because I drop his show like on every second of one of these shows, but you should be listening to his music shows. Like you'd probably like a lot of it, and you can request stuff. And you've probably seen him post them, but yeah, that's my little plug for because I co-hosted the show that he's going to be dropping later tonight. He's doing a 500 song series where he's got his listeners picking 500 songs over like 6 months, and so I've got some pretty eclectic choices that are coming up today on the show, from Dr. Demento to like heavy metal to country. It's all over the place. All right, so we got about a little over 5 minutes left. I told you 30 minutes. I mean, I can go longer if I want, but I also got other stuff to do, and I'm sure you do too. But I wanted to ask you. I saw you posted pictures of your road to WrestleMania. You got to go to a house show this weekend. I assume your first wrestling show since the pandemic.
Yeah, I would say I think that's the first wrestling show I've gone to since the pandemic. Like I was supposed to go to AEW in Rochester, but that didn't happen due to
Stop you right there because when you bought those tickets, first thing I said to you, how are you going to go to Rochester? And you're like, oh yeah, I got to control or whatever, and then you didn't go. So
I
what happened?
bought them, and then the
Yeah.
pandemic happened. So I bought them in like February of 2020. Then the
Okay. Yeah.
pandemic.
But you bought them again. I remember like during the pandemic, you
No,
were
no, no. I
convinced
didn't
you were
rebuy them.
going.
They kept
Oh,
rescheduling the event, and
okay.
so
So
I couldn't ask for a refund from the company because they
okay,
hadn't
gotcha.
canceled the event. They had
Gotcha.
rescheduled it. So I
Okay.
had the tickets. I wanted to go, but then by the time the
Gotcha.
show was actually happening, we still couldn't go across the border. So then I ended up having
Okay.
to sell them. But yeah, I went
So
to the house show this weekend, which was right in Kitchener at
yeah,
the odd. So that was a
I had
win for me.
no idea they were doing house shows in Canada this weekend because I saw the Instagram post from Becky Lynch where somebody forwarded it to me because they know my daughter loves Becky, and she was talking about how she got held up at the border or something, and I was like, what's she coming to the border for? Is she coming to visit me? And then I was joking obviously, but I didn't realize that they had a house show and they were in your hometown. So it looks like you had a lot of fun. You took a lot of awesome pictures.
I did. It was fun. I mean, the match quality is good, and you can see that the talent are having fun working a live event. Like they're
Yeah.
so much, less stressful. You get kind of just get up there and do your own thing to an extent. Have your match, or if you're Kevin Owens, you had a match, but you had a talking segment, a live
Yeah.
version of the KO show with Trish Stratus, where you could just tell how much fun they're having. The crowd was into everything. I think it would have sold more if they hadn't announced the show in December when COVID was insane in
Yeah.
Ontario. And I thought there's no way they actually end up having the show. But I mean, that's why, you can't live in the present. You have to think a little bit to the future. But we had the show. It was really good. Like a very short show, very like 2 hours with an
That's
intermission.
awesome. Yeah.
And you just get to, I left, the main event was announced. I saw some of it and I left because I wanted to beat a lot of the traffic that was there.
Sure.
But it was a fun time. Like these house shows are definitely, these live events are definitely more for kids. Like everything is about for kids. It was kind of cool to see how excited people were for, like the kids were excited. And I was blown away maybe I shouldn't be, but how over Rey Mysterio was. He was the most popular guy in the entire building. Like, I've watched pretty much his whole career, but there's like kids that are into him and everyone else. It was awesome to see how like over Rey is. And I just thought maybe because where he's positioned right now, it wouldn't be the same, but he was over like
He's
Rover.
he's a legend. I mean, that's it, right?
He's a
Did
legit like
now
living legend.
did you know Trish Stratus was going to be on the show, or was that a surprise?
No, they kind of announced that she was going to be a part of these
Okay.
Canadian shows. So
Oh, okay.
I
See,
knew
I had
that.
no idea. So I was surprised when I saw your picture. Like that was the first I knew that she was even there. But I don't pay a lot of attention to social media. So I imagine if I was going to the show, I would have probably known. Now I'm going to Mania this weekend, and I'm trying to decide which shows to go to other than Mania. And I probably don't have a ton of time. So I thinking maybe I can get to 2 or 3 shows. So I want to ask you, if you were going to Mania this weekend, and you had some time, which shows would you be wanting to go to in the Dallas area?
Well, I'd want to go for sure to that Ring of Honor show. I know that's outside of the Dallas area, but that's like a must see show for me just to
I think
see.
so. Yeah.
It's like the end of that era of Ring of Honor before Tony totally takes over for it with his vision of Ring of Honor going forward. And I think it's going to be a great show. I'd want to see as well, like Josh Barnett's Bloodsport, because when I went to New York for Mania, I didn't go to that, and I'm still upset that I didn't go to that. It's going to be fun to see how. I don't know if I think they may have done one since like fans can come back, but like during the pandemic, they were cool. Like they were like a Mortal Kombat style, but with fans, it's going to add so much more interest to these events. What else is there? I would want to see at least one a GCW show. I know
Right.
you're
You're a
not
big
big into
GCW
GCW.
fan.
I
You know
know you're
what?
not.
I'm intrigued. So I think I might go to the one in Vegas because I am going to but see the problem is with the Vegas one is it's in that stupid FSW arena and I just don't like that arena at all. But yeah, maybe so the one that so I'm kind of leaning towards Ring of Honor for sure. Now Ishii is wrestling on the Multiverse of Matches show, which is Impact Wrestling. So I'm tempted to that one, but it's also running almost concurrently with Ring of Honor, and they're about a half
Yeah,
hour apart. So that's tough. If I knew the match order and if I knew I could see Ishii early, I might just go and watch the Ishii match and then leave and go to Ring of Honor. I really would just want to see Ishii live, like more than anybody else. Like that's my favorite wrestler. You know,
well, I mean, I know the Ring of Honor show starts at 10, and
yeah,
the Ring of Honor shows at 8. The
8.
Impact show starts at 10. But I know it's in Garland, Texas, not really
Yeah.
Dallas, and I know Texas is a big
Is it
state.
10? Is it 10?
So Impact's at 10 Eastern.
Oh, okay. You know what then? Actually, then, no, you know what? There's 2 Impact shows, and I'll bet you the one I want to watch is at 8 then. Because there's one's at 8 and one's at 10. So at 8, they've got, or one show is the Multiverse show, and then the second show is the IPWF, which is their retro show, which
Yeah.
I got the pay-per-view. It's hot garbage. Like if you like that sort of thing, I mean, you could like it, but I can't imagine paying for that and watching it. Like it's just it's a way better TV broadcast, I think, than it would be to watch live because there's so many inside jokes that they tell and all these like references, like they're pretending they're in 1985 and they're predicting the future and stuff. And it's cute for a little while, for like a half an hour, and then it just gets boring. But man, it's so much good stuff. The blood sport I would definitely go to if I get there in time. The problem is I don't, because that's on Thursday and I don't know if I'll get there in time, but
what time are you getting to the great state of Texas?
this is what I don't know, because I have a daughter with special needs and she sets a schedule. So we're leaving first thing in the morning on Wednesday. It's a 2-day drive. So if all goes well, I might get there at 5 o'clock in the afternoon on Thursday, but I can't count on that. So I think the Bloodsport show is probably out. But when's the spring break show? Might be like midnight on Thursday.
That's night 2. So night 2
that's
is
Friday.
A midnight. Yeah,
That's Friday.
I think
Or Saturday.
Friday.
Okay, so I might go to that. Like, and that's GCW, right?
Yeah, it is GCW with Joey Janela. I mean,
Yeah.
the main event of night 1 is Moxley versus AJ Gray for the title. The Briscoes are on that card as well.
Really? Oh my goodness.
Mickey James is even on that card. That's
Are
a
you
good
kidding
bet.
me? Oh my
Yeah.
god. Oh man, I want to go so bad now. I want to go to like 10 different shows that are all at the same time. It's crazy.
That's how I
And
felt when I went to New York. Like you could only pick, right? So I went to the Super Card of Honor show at the Garden.
mhm,
I went to an MLW show just because I wanted to check out the product that was in Queens. But I mean,
yeah.
New York's so much easier to access other boroughs. You take the subway and
Well,
whatever.
Dallas isn't bad. Like because when I went there, like I could literally get to anywhere I wanted to go in like 20 minutes. So I mean, that's not. And I've got a car, so most people don't have a car, so it's a lot easier for me. Well, a van
Yeah.
technically, but the only issue too is going to be that because of my daughter, like I'm bringing two of my daughters down. So as long as she's having a good day, my older daughter can watch Emily, and then I can go check out some shows. So that's kind of my hope. I mean, worst case scenario, I'm going to see Ring of Honor, NXT, and the two Mania shows. Like that's that's the four. And if I get any more than that, it's a bonus. I also want to see New Japan Strong, which is at the same time because my buddy Filthy Tom is wrestling on that show. So, and then I think we'll go to WrestleCon as well, and I'll see a lot of these people that maybe I didn't get to wrestle, but you know,
Yeah, WrestleCon was one thing I was bummed I didn't check out. Plus, the actual shows they put on were
yeah.
pretty good from what I
The
heard from
only
people
the
that I
only
ran
thing I
into.
didn't like, the matches are great, but it's the venue is not great. I mean, it's fine, it's clean, it's nice, but the sight lines, everything's level. So,
Oh,
unless you're in the front row, it's hard to see anything, and the sound isn't great, so you can't hear the promos. But
well,
whatever.
what excites me about this weekend is last year we kind of had some shows. They're pretty much all GCW shows, but this year it's like a full
Yeah,
Mania weekend back where, Impact's there, Ring of Honor's there, High Spots is doing their stuff. Like, it's nice to see because when that hit in 2020, like a lot of those places, especially High Spots, like they got hit hard by
yeah.
losing out on all that money, and now they're back and putting these shows on. And it's what excites me about the weekend. It's what I'm excited for is there is, yes, as you mentioned, Paul, there's a Cage Warriors show, there's an XMMA show, but I'm going to check out as much wrestling as I've been able to see this year. Like, there's a lot of good wrestling.
I
Excuse me.
remember I remember, was
There's a
it
lot.
on your sorry, go ahead.
No, there's a lot of good wrestling that I really want to check out that I actually have the option to check out.
I remember, I think it was you 2 years ago, your 30th birthday, obviously. Didn't you buy yourself like some sort of a club pack of like all the different independent shows that were going on one specific weekend? Was that you?
That was last year. That
Oh,
was
last
the
year.
collective that
Oh,
GCW
okay.
has on Fight. So you can buy all the GCW
Yeah.
shows on
I
Fight.
remember you say you were all happy and you were basically just blocking off like, a day and a half to watch like all these
I
different
did. I took
shows.
2 days off
Yeah.
work. I took a Thursday,
Yeah.
Friday off work. I'm like, this
Yeah.
is I can't be in or Tampa, but I can
Yeah.
pretend I am from my couch.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. All right, so you know what, we might as well wrap it up here. I feel like we just got going, so at some point I'll have you on again, and we have to get you on in the clinch at some point too, because we're always looking to have guests, and you're always a great addition to those shows when we've had you on for pay-per-view recaps. So before we go, you got anything special you want to plug?
Well, just if you enjoyed this chat and want to keep up with me, you can follow me on Twitter at the letter J Hagholm, my last name, which
Oh,
is HAGHOLM, and the number 1. And my Instagram, as Paul puts it up there, is so nicely. So that's my Twitter. My Instagram is basically that. Just remove the number 1. So you can keep up there, follow along with me. And yeah, you'll see a lot of MMA content, but, as well as some interesting takes as well, like Will Smith slapping Chris Rock.
this is why I asked you to review this before we started. I had your Twitter handle wrong the whole time because I just click on Jason. I'm an old school
No,
guy.
you had the Twitter handle right. The Instagram is just without the 1.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. No, I had Jason Hagholm up there. You didn't even
Oh,
notice it. So that's me.
well, you
Neither
had
one of
this.
us
You had
noticed it.
this great. Yeah.
Now it's there. Now it's there.
Yeah.
All right. So for Jason, I've been Grandpa Dez, and this has been Cup of Joe.